Because she weighed over 100 kilograms, everyone called her fatty. Abandoned by her parents and left with broken limbs, she was exiled from the Federation and eventually ended up at an orphanage. Not only did she hang the young beastkin from trees to beat them daily, she even sold the cubs to traffickers for booze money. But the cubs, pushed to the brink by her oppression, eventually turned dark. They joined forces with her younger sister to expose her crimes of abuse and trafficking. By the time she was released decades later, the very cubs she had once abused had become ruthless, villainous overlords. They tortured her to death. Subai, who had been burned to death by her sister, happened to transmigrate into the body of this vicious antagonist. When she realized the original owner's fate, she was completely stunned. Luckily, she wouldn't be exposed by the kids and her sister until tomorrow. There was still a chance to turn things around. Subai looked at her obese body, which seemed to be riddled with health issues. Thankfully, her system-granted ability was healing. Any food she prepared with her own hands could cure any illness. Subai glanced at the few children in the corner who were staring at her in terror. Their faces were bruised, and they even had fluffy animal ears on their heads. Subai's eyes lit up with pity, and she promptly started cooking. She would change the villain's destiny, starting by healing these future little antagonists. What is she doing? Why is she ignoring us? Before, we could always get food after a beating. If she doesn't hit us now, does that mean she won't give us any food? This can't be happening. Little Tiger has a fever. If he doesn't eat, he'll starve to death. The wolf-eared child protected the others behind him, his eyes flashing with a fierce light. He had already sent a distress signal down the mountain. The Federation officers would surely come tomorrow. As long as they could prove this woman abused children, they could get rid of her. This woman is fat as a pig. The little wolf pup calmed his companions and plucked up the courage to step forward. Headmistress, please, just beat me up. We want to trade for some food. Little Tiger has a fever. He then closed his eyes, bracing for the blows, looking pitiful enough to soften anyone's heart. Subai patted his little head and couldn't help but give his fluffy ears a little pet. Just wait, it'll be ready soon. She skillfully took ingredients from the pantry, rinsed the rice, and washed the vegetables. The little wolf pup and the other children looked at each other in confusion. They didn't know what she was up to, but a rich aroma soon drifted from the pot. None of the children had ever smelled anything like this chicken shred, shrimp, and tofu porridge. They were instantly drooling, leaning in with eager eyes. Even the usually vigilant and steady little wolf pup was tempted. He swallowed hard and inched closer. Beastkin rarely cooked. Even when they had food, they just ate it raw. At most, they would boil meat, but the art of cooking had almost vanished from the galaxy entirely. Subai turned to look at them and served everyone a bowl. Eat up. She had always had a soft spot for children, especially kids with animal ears who were both adorable and pathetic. The little wolf pup took a skeptical bite and widened his eyes in disbelief. It's so good. How can it taste this amazing? Is this really just porridge? As soon as he finished eating, he suddenly felt his left eye and his broken wolf tail start to itch. The little wolf pup rubbed his broken tail and just placed the bowl in the sink. Director, we're done eating. You can start beating us now. As he said this, a look of anticipation actually appeared on the little wolf pup's face. Come on, hit us as hard as you can. Wait until the Federation officials arrive tomorrow. They'll know this wicked woman abuses children. This was the only way to find an excuse to drive her away. Bai Su looked into the little wolf pup's eyes and knew exactly what he was planning. She didn't expect that on the very first day she could change the image they had of her, so she just smiled and nodded. Alright, go off and play. From now on, I'll make you guys something delicious every day. Bai Su didn't pay any more attention to these few little guys who looked utterly bewildered, but instead carried a bowl of porridge upstairs to find Little Tiger. Little Tiger was a young tiger beast man, and he was nothing but skin and bones. He was running a fever right now, and his lips were all chapped. Bai Su couldn't help but feel a surge of pity, cursing the original owner in her heart for being so cruel. She hurried to feed him the porridge. Eat up, you poor little thing. Once you finish eating, all your sickness and pain will fly away. Little Tiger snuggled into her arms. After eating, his fever broke quickly, and the bruises on his body also vanished. He even groggily nuzzled against Bai Su's chest, acting like a spoiled pet. Bai Su's heart just melted. She couldn't help but hold the little one and soothe him to sleep. How was this any different from raising a litter of fluffballs? She loved these furry little cubs so much. As expected, cubs of any species are incredibly charming. Outside the bedroom door, several little heads were peeking in to check the situation. That idiot Little Tiger is actually grabbing her clothes, and he didn't even get hit. She's holding Little Tiger and singing. She suddenly feels so gentle. Wow, she was right. The wounds on Little Tiger's body are all gone after eating that porridge. Several of the little ones rolled up their sleeves and saw that their own wounds had healed, too. The little wolf pup dragged them into the kitchen. Don't be so naive. She must have figured out our plan and is just putting on an act. We can't just trust her so easily. Tomorrow, we absolutely must make sure she gets taken away by the officials. The cat cub scratched his head. But all our wounds are healed. If the officials come tomorrow, won't they stop believing us? A dark look flashed through the little wolf pup's eyes. If there are no wounds, then we'll just create some ourselves. He took the lead, slamming his arm into the corner of the wall. Pinching and twisting, the other little guys hesitated for a moment. Then gritted their teeth and followed suit. Early the next morning, a woman stepped out of a luxury car, followed closely by a male with wolf ears. It was none other than the original owner's younger sister, Bai Shui, and one of the male leads, Lu Tingyan. Bai Shui glanced at Lu Tingyan, her eyes filled with a lustful obsession for his handsome looks. Colonel Lu, it's right here. I really didn't want to wash our dirty laundry in public, which is why I had to ask you to make this trip personally. My sister committed a grave mistake before, and was banished by our family. Who knew she would open an orphanage here, and even abuse young beasts? Bai Shui bit her lip again, hesitant to say more. Colonel Lu. This is a scandal, after all. Lu Tingyan recalled Bai Su, a deep sense of disgust flashing through his gloomy eyes. If the crimes you mentioned are true, I will take her back to the Federation and let the law deal with her. Bai Shui smiled and nodded. Thank you, Colonel Lu, for being willing to do me this favor. The Bai family bodyguards couldn't help but whisper to each other. Why is the young miss being so polite to him? Even though Lu Tingyan used to be the strongest male in the Federation, he's been a total wreck ever since his psychic power was damaged on the battlefield. He even lost his position as leader to someone else. The young miss used to look down on losers like him, didn't she? Ever since the young miss had that fever last month, she's been like a different person. Not only does she not hate Colonel Lu anymore, but she's constantly running over to see him. I honestly don't get what she's thinking. Bai Su had just finished setting the lunch table when she saw two uninvited guests walk in. Bai Shui saw her and spoke up first. Sister, I brought Colonel Lu to come see you. You aren't mad about the surprise visit, are you? Bai Su rolled her eyes. If you were actually worried about me being mad, you could have just sent a text before coming. No need for the fake act. The smell of her cheap perfume is suffocating me. But she had known they were coming today, so she had prepared a whole table of delicious food early on. 5-grain rice, lotus leaf chicken, radish and yam cakes, stir-fried seasonal mushrooms, and a spicy beef hot pot. There were light flavors for the kids and spicy ones for herself. Bai Shui stared at the food on the table, stunned. You made all this? No way. I don't believe it. In today's Federation society, who even knows how to cook? These were things she had never even seen before. How could Bai Su possibly make them? Bai Su rolled her eyes again. Like I care whether you believe it or not. She turned her head and called upstairs. Kids, come down and eat. The little wolf cub led the other 3 kids running down the stairs. Almost all of them had bruises on their faces, even though it was the middle of summer and they were wearing short sleeves. The purple and blue welts on their arms were very obvious. The little wolf cub's right cheek was even swollen to a large size. It looked incredibly jarring. Bai Su pretended not to see it, and just called out to the kids, wash your hands and come eat. We have guests today, so I made 2 extra dishes. Lu Tingyan's eyes swept across the fresh, appetizing food that looked so vibrant. And upon smelling the piping hot, savory scent, he couldn't help but start to salivate. Bai Shui looked at her sister in shock. How is this possible? How can food emit such an alluring scent? This doesn't even smell like normal food. Lu Tingyan pulled his gaze away. It seemed this wasn't the first time Bai Su had cooked for these kids. In the Federation, no one would make such a fuss over food. Everyone just relies on nutritional supplements for their 3 meals a day. The little wolf cub keenly sensed Lu Tingyan's mood and, terrified that he would be deceived by Bai Su, quickly put on a look of terror and stared at Bai Su. I'm sorry, Director Mom. Please just beat us. We have to be punished every time to get food. We're already used to it. Bai Shui felt a thrill of joy, but put on a look of shock. Sister, how could you abuse them like this? These young beast kin are so cute. How could you bring yourself to do it? Bai Su ignored the little cubs and instead turned to Lu Tingyan beside her. Colonel, if you don't mind, why don't you sit down and have a bite? Otherwise, my sister, who is just bursting with a sense of justice, will accuse me of being a poor host. Bai Shui rolled her eyes and said with disdain, Colonel Lu has a noble status. Why would he eat this low-class garbage of yours? Lu Tingyan looked at the vibrant, colorful dishes. He felt he needed to confirm for himself whether this person was just putting on a show or if she actually knew how to cook. He felt he needed to see for himself whether this person was just putting on a show or if they could actually cook. She slowly sat down. All right, thank you. Bai Shui's eyes widened. She looked at Colonel Lu in disbelief. Colonel Lu? Bai Su then gestured toward the little ones nearby, and the little wolf pup immediately started acting. He put on a terrified expression. Okay, Mother Director, we'll be good and eat. Please don't hit us anymore. The other children couldn't help it anymore and began to scarf down their food. The meal was incredibly delicious and fresh, leaving only Bai Shui standing there awkwardly. Feeling embarrassed, she had no choice but to sit down as well. Annoyed, she picked up her bowl, telling herself she wasn't doing it because of that damn appetizing smell. But the food made her salivate uncontrollably. Suddenly, Bai Su shot her a cold glance. Did I tell you to eat? Bai Shui's hand, chopsticks in midair, froze. She slammed the bowl down. Fine, I won't eat then. Who even wants your food? Beside her, Lu Tingyan took a few bites. His pupils constricted suddenly. What was happening? He actually felt a trace of mental energy recovering in his consciousness. How could this be? His mental sea. It had been completely eroded during that horrible battle years ago, becoming a desolate wasteland where nothing could grow. For all these years, not a single trace of mental energy had appeared. Lu Tingyan gripped his chopsticks tightly. He picked up a piece of lotus leaf chicken and ate it. Another flicker of mental energy crossed his mind. It really was mental energy. Lu Tingyan's gaze rested sharply on the food. Could it be that these things were responsible? He calmly glanced at Bai Su, who was sitting across from him. He wasn't the only one shocked. The children were too. The food was even better than yesterday. They were so young, they had never tasted anything this good before. They immediately stopped worrying about the intimidating presence of Lu Tingyan and began to wolf down their food. The little wolf pup took a moment to sneak a look at Bai Su. Ever since yesterday, he had noticed this woman was acting strange in every way. Her posture while eating was different, and her tone of voice was different, too. Her eyes were different, her entire vibe felt completely changed. Before, this woman was gloomy and vicious, wanting to beat them 800 times a day. She used to be filthy and smelled foul, but starting yesterday, it was like she had become a completely different person. Not only was the sharp, bitter feeling gone, but she was wearing clean clothes, and her hair was washed clean too. She didn't have that strange smell anymore. The little wolf pup recalled the memory of this woman, ripping off his wolf tail, and a flash of cruelty passed through his eyes. No matter what, today was the only chance to get away from this vicious woman. Even if the food was delicious, he would never go soft. Thinking this, he couldn't help but rub his left eye, which was covered in scar tissue. He didn't know why, but since yesterday, his eyes and his tail had been itching faintly, and it was hard to even scratch them. Bai Shui was just looking for a chance to speak. Seeing the little wolf pup rubbing his eye, she quickly asked, "Are you feeling unwell? I see you all have scars on your bodies." Hearing this, the little wolf pup put down his bowl and chopsticks, putting on a pitiful look. "Big sister, can you help us? Mother director is very strict. Every time, we have to endure a beating just to get something to eat. Little tiger even had a fever yesterday." Seeing her chance, Bai Shui quickly pressed for answers. "What on earth is going on? Have you really been abused?" She then cast a stern look at Bai Su. "Sister, how could you do such a thing? All these years, I actually thought you had turned over a new leaf. I never expected you to get even worse and refuse to change your ways. How can you be so cold-blooded and vicious?" Bai Shui looked indignant. She began listing the original owner's past misdeeds one by one, wishing she could blacken her name completely once and for all. The little wolf cub felt speechless, watching this woman's point get more and more off track. He had to speak up to remind her, "Big sister. So, what should we do?" Bai Shui turned to the little wolf cub. With a look of righteous justice on her face, she said, "Don't worry. We'll find you a new orphanage. There are special shelters for feline and wolf-kin beastmen." A glint of sharp wit flashed in the little wolf cub's eyes. His plan was to wear this director down, to get her replaced with someone responsible who actually cares about them, not to be separated and sent away. He couldn't leave. If he left, the other young beastmen who were sold off wouldn't be able to find their way home. Bai Shui turned to look at Lu Tingyan. "Colonel Lu, could you please detain my sister and take her to the Federal Bureau?" She couldn't wait to call in the Bai family bodyguards from outside. They surrounded the entire living room, but none of them wanted to touch Bai Su, this shockingly overweight female. Bai Su finished her meal unhurriedly and set down her bowl and chopsticks. "You say I abused them? Where's the proof? All you do is screech like a broken horn. Do you think this is some street market where the loudest person wins the argument?" Bai Shui was so provoked her face turned dark with rage. She had underestimated this cheap woman. She used to be such a timid, submissive punching bag. I never thought her mouth would be so sharp now. To maintain her image in front of Lu Tingyan, Bai Shui swallowed her anger, putting on an expression of perfectly measured helplessness and condemnation. "Sister, stop making excuses. They have wounds all over them. Do you still dare to say you didn't beat them?" Bai Su crossed her arms. "I told you to show me the evidence. Are you incapable of understanding human speech?" Bai Shui retorted with a look of righteous indignation. "The Federation will naturally investigate the evidence. Go to the station and let them interrogate you." Beside them, Lu Tingyan suddenly spoke up. "Let's just perform an injury examination, then. If it was Bai Su who beat them, there will be evidence on their wounds." Two people in federal police uniforms stepped forward and began scanning the young beastman with an instrument. A few minutes later, the officer saluted Lu Tingyan respectfully. "Reporting, Colonel. The injury report shows that all wounds were self-inflicted. There is no trace of Bai Su having caused them." Bai Shui's eyes went wide. "That's impossible. Is there something wrong with your equipment?" The little kitten and the little tiger both looked guilty and quickly hid behind the little wolf cub. It was all because Mother Director gave them such delicious porridge yesterday. And their wounds inexplicably started to heal, so they hit themselves. Just to keep some of the marks. Bai Shui cried out anxiously. This is impossible. Sister, are you pulling some kind of trick? Did you force them to hurt themselves just to satisfy your perverted desire to abuse them? Bai Su didn't say a word. She just looked at her as if she were a complete idiot. Lu Tingyan pulled his gaze away from the children. That's enough of this farce. Let's go. Bai Shui grabbed Lu Tingyan's arm, clearly unwilling to give up. Colonel Lu, please, look into it a little more. Search this orphanage. Maybe you'll find some incriminating evidence. My sister, she really, enough. Lu Tingyan brushed her hand away, his eyes cold as ice. Miss Bai, I don't have time to play these petty mind games with you. Lu Tingyan led his men away in a long convoy, and after everyone had finally cleared out, Bai Su glared at the group of little brats with a dark expression. So, I'm the one who abuses you, huh? The little wolf pup stood protectively in front of his young beast friends, eyeing Bai Su with wary vigilance. It was all my idea. If you're going to punish anyone, punish me. Bai Su swept a gloomy look over the children, then suddenly slammed her hand down on the table. You guys think you're pretty smart, don't you? Bai Su's eye twitched. She slammed it so hard her palm was burning with pain, but she couldn't let it show. She had to keep the pressure on. Are you guys trying to get yourselves killed? You actually dared to bring people here to investigate me? You think I wouldn't know? What kind of scheme are you all cooking up? You're all just itching for a beating, aren't you? Do I have to beat you until you're bruised and broken for you to stop? I guess if I don't whip you for 3 days, you'll tear the roof down. I didn't even hit you, and you're already resorting to self-inflicted drama? A bunch of idiots. She fiercely smashed a few bowls on the ground. The kids jumped, trembling. The little wolf pup silently endured Bai Su's fury. The young mortal closed his eyes, already bracing himself for a brutal beating. The timid little cat cub started shaking in fear. Seeing that she had achieved the desired effect, Bai Su coldly spoke up. Since you've caused me so much trouble, I'm punishing you. Wash the dishes and clean up the kitchen today. And don't even think about sleeping until it's spotless. The little wolf pup waited for a long beat. He hadn't expected such a light, flimsy punishment. He looked up at Bai Su in shock. His eyes were full of confusion. The other kids couldn't help but look at each other in bewilderment. That's it? Is that supposed to be a punishment? Bai Su didn't bother with them anymore. She had purposely mimicked the original owner's volatile temper, making the kids think they were dead meat today, raising the stick high. Only to let it fall softly, settling for a simple chore like washing dishes. The contrast was so huge that they would likely be much more inclined to change their opinion of her now. Seeing there was food left in the kitchen, the little wolf pup huddled with the cat cub and the others to talk. They snuck some food back to little Tiger. He was already doing much better, but he still had a bit of a cough. He asked about today's operation. The little wolf pup shook his head. It failed. The little cat cub couldn't help but whisper, actually, I think the director is being pretty nice lately. She's not only making us good food, but she's stopped hitting people too. Just as little Tiger was about to speak, the little wolf pup frowned and shot him a warning glare. You idiot. That's only because she knew about it beforehand. We reported her for abusing little beastkin, so she was just putting on an act for the officials. The little cat cub was confused. But the grown-ups have already left. And she still hasn't hit us. The little wolf pup scoffed. She only toned it down because she realized we finally had the ability to call for help. Just you wait and see. In a little while, she'll be right back to her old self. A dog never loses its appetite for filth, the kitten muttered under its breath. But she's a Dutch rabbit, not a dog, someone countered. Little Tiger suddenly chimed in. Actually, I think Mother Director seems different now, too. Seeing his friends getting bought off by that dead woman's scraps, the wolf pup got so angry he turned and bolted. Just as he passed by Bai Su's room, he caught her opening the door and, completely off guard, slammed right into her. Bai Su was quick to grab him by the scruff, catching him before he could fall. The wolf pup tensed up instantly, glaring at her with a wary look. Sorry, Mother Director. Bai Su held him steady. Running so fast, where are you off to? Seeing her gentle, smiling expression, the wolf pup couldn't help but remember how his friends hadn't believed him just a moment ago. Infuriated, he shook off Bai Su's hand. None of your business. He turned and ran downstairs. Bai Su shook her head and didn't bother chasing after him. She sifted through the original owner's memories and realized the wolf pup was a highly gifted cub. He had already awakened to level 5 by the age of 7, but because of the abuse, his tail was cruelly torn off, and his level could no longer increase. For a beast man, their animal form carries the vast majority of their power, so being unable to level up his talent was devastating. That was one of his deep-seated traumas. The other was his blinded left eye. She knew that winning this little cub over was simple. She just had to fix the mess the original owner made. Since she had healing abilities, she wasn't worried about that. Just as she was about to go out and find him, she spotted him hiding sneakily behind a big tree not far from the orphanage gate. Bai Su gave a helpless smile and headed into the kitchen instead. She decided to whip up a couple of bowls of mushroom, shrimp, and shredded chicken noodles as a late-night snack. The savory aroma drifted steadily from the kitchen, and as a wolf, his sense of smell was keen. The pup gulped, unable to help but poke his head out from behind the stump. He stared toward the kitchen. Bai Su placed 2 bowls of noodles on the dining table, which happened to be facing the door. The pup quickly and cautiously ducked back behind the stump. Bai Su sat with her back to him and let out a soft sigh. Why isn't the little wolf pup back yet? These noodles will get all soggy and won't taste good if he waits too long. Her voice wasn't loud, as if she were just talking to herself, but the pup's ears behind the stump twitched. He heard every word clearly. Bai Su wasn't in a hurry. So delicious. And sure enough, less than 5 minutes later, the pup couldn't hold out anymore. He pretended to walk in casually, acting like he was going to the stove to get some water. A glimmer of a smile flashed in Bai Su's eyes. She said gently, "You're finally back. Are you hungry? Come on over and have a bowl of noodles. I made this late-night snack just for you." When the wolf pup heard that, his ears perked up instantly, and his docked tail wagged frantically behind him. Cough, cough. Bai Su was absolutely melted by the cuteness. She barely managed to stop herself from screaming and pouncing on him. Besides, who in the world could resist something so fuzzy? The wolf pup had no idea what was going on in Bai Su's head. No one in the world can resist a fluffy little wolf pup, though the pup had no idea what Bai Su was thinking. She wore a reluctant look, but realized it would be a waste not to eat. "Fine, I'll have some then," she muttered, practically diving into the seat. Her actions betrayed her true feelings, though. The next day, Bai Su made a plan. The top priority right now is to get myself and the little ones back to health. This body is far too overweight, and on top of that, it's infertile. That's the part that really confuses me. According to the original owner's memories, she was perfectly fertile, but ever since I got here, that ability just vanished. The original owner had been living here with several children, eventually turning the place into an orphanage on the mountaintop. But there's a gap. A few months of memory are completely blank. It's too suspicious to be a coincidence. My healing abilities can restore fertility, but it's going to take some time. Since the little wolf cub also needs to recover, and we need food, I decided to head down the mountain early to buy fresh supplies. In this interstellar beast world, fresh, unprocessed food is actually quite cheap. On the contrary, canned goods and nutritional supplements are much more expensive. Since the original owner didn't have much money, she had to scrape by on a monthly federal subsidy of 3,000 credits. That was the main reason the original owner had sold off a few of the children before. What Bai Su didn't expect was that, just as she left the mountain orphanage to head into town, trouble was already brewing back home. A rowdy group of people were making their way up a different mountain path, missing Bai Su by mere moments. With a deafening boom, the front door of the orphanage was kicked wide open. Several vicious-looking beastmen stormed in, brandishing heavy clubs. "Bai Su, get your ass out here right now." Hearing the commotion upstairs, the little wolf cub calmly ran down, his eyes cold and steady. "Who are you looking for?" The leader of the group sneered and grabbed him by the collar. "Get Bai Su out here. She hasn't paid what she owes yet. Where does she think she can hide?" The little wolf cub frowned. "She went out early this morning. If you want to find her, you'll have to come back later." His calm, steady expression struck the beastmen as pure provocation. Without a word, they hoisted him into the air. They tossed him aside like a sack of sand. The little wolf cub let out a stifled groan. He felt like his insides were being mashed into paste. The suffocating pain made his vision go black for a moment. The leader scanned the surrounding area with a menacing glare. "Search the place. Take anything that's worth money. Smash whatever isn't. Let that woman know exactly what happens when she crosses us." The other beastmen grew even more excited at the order. "You got it." They acted like bandits, kicking aside the little wolf cub who had curled into a ball, and began tearing the orphanage apart. Having finished ransacking the first floor, the savage beasts quickly headed upstairs. They dragged the tiger cub and the 2 kittens down by the scruffs of their necks. The beastmen descended the stairs, looking smug. "These little runts aren't bad. Look at them, clean and healthy, all limbs intact. They should fetch a good price." The little wolf cub gritted his teeth and lunged at them. "You're breaking the law. Let them go right now." "The law?" The leader laughed out loud. "In this part of the suburbs, Wang Biao, am the law." "You little cripple, you're really pushing your luck with me." With a look of disgust, he kicked the wolf pup away, sending his frail little body tumbling across the ground. He slammed hard against the corner of the wall, blood gushing from his nose and mouth. It was a miserable sight, and the little ones were scared to tears. Big brother puppy, just leave us alone and run." "Wah, you big meanie, let us go." Wang Biao sneered. He poked at the little ones' bellies with a stick. "Since your director owes me money, if she can't pay, then you'll just have to be the payment. It's not like this is her first time doing something like this." "Alright boys, let's go. We're selling these little runts. We're having a feast tonight." The wolf pup struggled, trying to drag himself up. Blood pooled on the ground as he coughed it up. His gaze locked desperately on the children held by the beastmen. His eyes were dark and terrifyingly intense, but he was just too weak. So weak that even with all his might, he couldn't fight back. So weak that he actually found himself hoping that woman would hurry back and save him. The wolf pup couldn't hold on any longer. He passed out right then and there. Bai Su rushed back around lunchtime. What she saw was a scene of total devastation, the wolf pup lying in a pool of blood. Her world went dark, and she knew something terrible had happened. She didn't even care about the mess. She boiled water herself. She mixed it with some cool mineral water and fed it to the wolf pup. Only when she saw his wounds beginning to heal did she breathe a sigh of relief. Thank goodness the boiled water had healing properties. The wolf pup slowly opened his eyes. He saw the fat woman right in front of him. So, you finally decided to come back? Little Tiger and the others were taken to pay off your debts. Are you happy now? Bai Su quickly realized what was going on. Who did this? Do you even know who they are? The wolf pup was so angry he wanted to kill her. Trying to suppress his fury, he said, I don't know who they are. I only know that one of them is called Wang Biao. Bai Su searched her memory. She had a rough idea of who it was. She raised her right hand. She used the smart bracelet on her wrist to call the police first. In this interstellar beast world, beastmen all relied on their smart bracelets to communicate, and the bracelets for males and females were different. Even though she was an exiled female, when she called, the Federation still gave her priority. A deep, cold look flickered in Bai Su's eyes. Come with me. It'll take a while for the Federation officers to get here. We'll head over there first and stop them. How dare they touch my little fluff balls? I'll flatten them with my own body weight if I have to. By the time they reached the dock, Wang Biao was negotiating with some crew members. The little ones were locked in cages, curled up into little balls, their faces deathly pale with fear. The wolf pup frowned, worried. What do we do? Bai Su rolled up her sleeves immediately. What do we do? We just take them back, that's what. Before the wolf pup could even react, she had already charged forward. Stop. Bai Su stood directly in front of the cages. Well, Wang Biao. You actually dared to traffic beast cubs? Did you ever get my permission to sell my children? Wang Biao laughed when he saw her. Well, looks like you delivered yourself right to my doorstep. You owe me money and you want to welch on it? Aren't these little beast cubs enough to cover your debt? Bai Su gripped the cage tight. These are my children. Wang Biao, if you dare to touch them, I'll make you taste what it's like to be crushed by 800 pounds of meat. She signaled the wolf pup with her eyes while rolling up her sleeves to scratch at Wang Biao's face. Looking every bit the shrew, she held his attention while the wolf pup seized the chance to rush over and untie the hemp rope on the cage. He freed the little ones, and when Wang Biao saw the young beast kin trying to escape, he shoved Bai Su to the ground in a rage. Get lost. Bai Su, you crazy BTCH. What are you acting like this for? It's not like you've never sold any before. If you don't sell the beast pups, where will you get the money to pay back Lao Zi's debt? Bai Su threw herself on the ground, making a scene and blocking their path. I'm not selling them. These children are my life and soul. Don't you even think about laying a finger on them. The beast kin were all tall and burly. It wasn't that they couldn't overpower her, but because she was a female. They didn't dare to strike. After all, even an exiled female is still a female. Females are the rarest and most precious beings in the galaxy. Harming one is a serious crime. Prison time would be the least of their worries. With their hands tied, they were actually held back by Bai Su. Seeing the children about to get away, Wang Biao grew frustrated and embarrassed, raising his foot to kick her hands away. But he didn't expect Bai Su to suddenly lunge at him like a human bomb. His kick landed square on her chest, and Bai Su flew backward. Her head slammed into a nearby iron crate, and a huge gash opened up on her forehead. When the two crew members saw this, they immediately backed away, looking like they wanted to wash their hands of the whole mess. Even Wang Biao looked panicked. Furious and flustered, he yelled, "It has nothing to do with me. You threw yourself at me." The wolf pup heard the noise and looked over, only to see Bai Su's plump body sprawled on the ground, a deep bleeding wound on her forehead. Her face was deathly pale. Bai Su forced herself to steady her body, swaying as she blocked their path again. I don't care. You are not allowed to touch my little fluff balls. Oh, wait, my children. The wolf pup bit his lip, a flicker of struggle in his eyes as he looked at the little ones. Find a safe place to hide. Once the police get here, you'll be safe. I'm going back to save her. The wolf pup stood in front of Bai Su, glaring at Wang Biao with dark, stormy eyes. Get lost, you big, loud-mouthed brute. Wang Biao was already fuming, with nowhere to vent his anger. Seeing the wolf pup actively confronting him, he flew into a rage. His large palm morphed into sharp, ape-like claws and he lunged at him. Wolf pup, Bai Su cried out, suddenly pulling the little one into her chubby arms and turning around, using her own back to shield him from Wang Biao's attack. Thud, Bai Su felt a searing, fiery pain in her back, and her face went paper white in an instant. As she slowly slumped down, Director Mom, the wolf pup's pupils constricted. The federal police had finally arrived. Seeing with their own eyes that Wang Biao had attacked a female, they rushed over and tackled him to the ground. Wang Biao was stunned. He never imagined this woman would actually throw herself into the fray. Terrified, he shook his head frantically. It wasn't me. I didn't. She ran into it herself. I didn't mean to hit her. I was aiming for that little pup. But it was too late for excuses. Hurting a female right in front of the federal police. With enough evidence for a conviction, Wang Biao was hauled away. By the time Bai Su and the little ones got back to the orphanage after being discharged from the hospital, 3 days had already passed. Thanks to that mess, Bai Su actually got a settlement from Wang Biao. She even managed to stock up on more supplies. She was more than happy with how things turned out. That whole suffering act she pulled? It was all part of the plan. She'd been trying to figure out how to clean up her reputation anyway. And Wang Biao walked right into her trap. So, when they reached the pier, she purposely rushed out to provoke him and put on a wild, chaotic show. After getting back to the orphanage, she saw the 4 little ones standing nervously in the living room, too scared to even sit down. They were all staring at her, wide-eyed. Bai Su couldn't help but chuckle as she glanced at them. You must be starving. I'll go get some food ready. You still want to have that lotus leaf chicken? Yes. Little Tiger couldn't help himself and shouted out loud. The other 3 glared at him, and Little Tiger immediately shrank back. No? Bai Su paused for a second. She couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. Even after all that, these little rugrats still had their guards up. The little kitten looked at Bai Su, trying to be sweet. He wiped off the sofa and said, Director Mom, please, have a seat. Another little kitten carefully and timidly held out a glass of water. Director Mom, here's some water. The little wolf cub looked at her awkwardly, like he wanted to say something but was too shy to speak up. Bai Su looked at the little ones and said, Alright. If you guys aren't hungry, I am. I'm going to go start cooking. Bai Su knew this was a perfect chance, so as she washed the veggies and prepped the meat, she said, You guys must be wondering why I've been acting so differently lately, right? I know I treated you all really poorly before, but I've had a change of heart. You're all such sweet, well-behaved little beastkin. I want to have a good life with you all here from now on. Whether you believe me or not, you've got to let a bad person have a sudden change of heart and try to turn over a new leaf. Don't you think? Bai Su didn't really expect them to grasp it all, but she was saying it for the little wolf cub. He was the oldest of the bunch, so he was definitely capable of understanding. Sure enough, his voice came from behind her. Director Mom, thank you for saving us that day. Bai Su waved it off with a smile. Alright, let's live in peace from now on and build a good home for this orphanage, okay? I promise, as long as you guys behave, I'll never hit you again. The little ones were absolutely thrilled. Director Mom won't hit us anymore. We're the best little beastkin ever. These little ones were all carnivores, so Bai Su made sure to whip up plenty of meat dishes. They were all growing fast, and carnivores really needed that protein. To get all the nutrition they needed, the little kitten was already drooling with excitement. Besides his cat ears and tail, even the fur on his arms and cheeks was starting to pop out. He couldn't stop jumping up and down in place. The little wolf cub tried to keep his composure, but the way he was frantically gulping down his spit gave him away. Bai Su laughed. Alright, go wash your hands, it's time to eat. The little ones hurriedly rushed off to wash their hands before scrambling into their chairs to eat. Even though they'd had this a few times before, tasting such delicious food once again, they still couldn't help but gobble it all up. After they finished eating, Bai Su called the little wolf cub into her room. The little ones watched her anxiously. Bai Su chuckled. Alright. I have something to tell you. I'm not going to hit anyone. Didn't I promise you guys? I won't ever lay a hand on you. The little ones just stared longingly at the little wolf. Only after they saw him nod did they hesitantly turn to leave. Bai Su shook her head. It looked like she still had a long way to go in building up her credibility. The little wolf followed her into the room, looking a bit nervous and uneasy. Mommy Director, is there something you need? Bai Su nodded. Tell me, have you been feeling an itch in your eyes and tail every time you eat lately? The little wolf was stunned by her words. How did you know? Did you put a tracker on me? Bai Su ruffled his hair. What tracker are you talking about? It's because I've recently awakened a new healing ability. Every dish I cook now carries specific healing properties. As long as you keep eating my food every day, your vision will slowly be restored. And your tail will grow back, too. The little wolf couldn't quite believe it. My eyes, and my tail, they can really heal? Bai Su nodded firmly. Not only will they heal, they'll be even better than before. I know you don't trust me. What happened in the past can't be undone. But as for the future, how about it? The little wolf was taken aback by this sudden, intense sincerity. He was at a loss for words. Are you really going to heal me? Bai Su nodded. I'm not just going to heal you. I'm going to heal myself, and I'm going to raise every single one of you to be healthy, happy, and strong. But, my healing ability needs to stay low-key for now. Don't go telling anyone else about it. The little wolf looked uncomfortable. Then, why did you tell me? Bai Su patted her stomach, which felt like 300 pounds. Because out of all these kids, you're the oldest and the smartest. You're the most responsible and the most influential. With those 4 big compliments, the little wolf was so moved that his stubby tail actually twitched. A faint, bashful look crossed his young face. His wolf ears flicked on top of his head. I get it. I'll keep your secret. Bai Su looked at him with a beaming smile. Let's make another deal. I'll help heal all the injuries on your body. Will you forgive me? Let's protect the children here together. And build a warm, loving home. The little wolf met her sparkling eyes. After a long moment, he finally nodded. Okay, it's a promise. Bai Su breathed a sigh of relief. It's a deal. From that day on, the drama queen officially turned into the #1 devoted follower. Next day, explosive news suddenly hit the headlines. The spirit of the Federation's once strongest snow wolf, the level 9 beastman Lu Tingyan, had suddenly recovered. You have to understand, Colonel Lu was the most powerful beastman in the Federation. With him guarding the borders, beastmen from other nations never dared to invade. But ever since that battle 4 years ago, they wouldn't have dared to invade the Federation, but ever since that battle 4 years ago. After Colonel Lu's psychic power was destroyed and he stepped down from his position, the Federation has only gone from bad to worse. When the news finally broke, Lu Tingyan was in his military office handling paperwork. Ever since he stepped down, he's been stuck managing minor city defense affairs for the Federation. Suddenly, the office door was shoved open, and a snow wolf beastman with beady, mung bean-sized eyes barged in. Lu Yanhua let out a scoff, took off his jacket, and tossed it carelessly onto the desk. Cousin, you're living pretty comfortably, hiding away in this office every day, aren't you? Lu Tingyan kept a cold face. I'm very busy. If you've got something to say it. Lu Yanhua snorted in contempt. Who are you trying to act tough for? If it wasn't for my dad kindly keeping your position in the military, you really think you'd still be sitting comfortably in an office? A pathetic beastman with zero psychic power, and blind in one eye to boot. You can barely even support yourself. You're only still holding down a job because you're leeching off my old man. Making those few tens of thousands a month, Lu Tingyan had long since gotten used to this. He just kept his head down, focused on his work, and couldn't be bothered to engage with him. Lu Yanhua let out a couple of derisive sneers, feeling highly annoyed, and snatched the files right out of his hands. Slap. He threw them right in his face. Do you still think you're the leader of the Federation from back in the day? What are you putting on airs for in front of me? You're just doing grunt work for the Federation. You actually think you're something special? Lu Tingyan's face was struck until it turned red. A sharp, stinging pain flared across his cheek, making him uncontrollably close his eyes. He picked up the files and went back to work. Lu Yanhua spat on the ground. He suddenly leaned in close, grabbed Lu Tingyan by the collar, and slapped his face in a humiliating manner. The only thing you've got going for you is that face. I asked my dad to scout out a good spot for you. You're over 30 now. It's about time you had a female. Julie's mate just died, so it just so happens you can go be her beast husband. In the interstellar beast world, females are incredibly rare, and for the sake of continuing the beastman race, it takes 7 males working together to raise a female. But someone like Lu Tingyan, who couldn't even feed himself, had no ability to support a female and couldn't contribute anything to the household. Even if a female were willing to marry him and take him in, once he entered her home, he would just be ostracized and bullied by the other males. Lu Tingyan didn't say a word. He just silently continued looking at the files in his hands. Lu Yanhua found it boring. He spat again and turned to leave, leaving Lu Tingyan all alone in the office. Lu Tingyan suddenly threw his pen to the side, his eyes fixed on the documents on the desk. His gaze flickered. The file was an application from the Suburban Construction Department, requesting to incorporate the Mountaintop Orphanage into the public domain. The attachments included renovations for the public area, house repairs, and a series of other applications. He stared at his own hands. There was no psychic energy fluctuation in his palms, but his gut feeling back at the Mountaintop Orphanage couldn't be wrong. It was his psychic power beginning to sprout. It was absolutely necessary for him to go back again. Around the corner from the office, Lu Yanhua hadn't gone far yet. He was lowering his voice, talking on his phone. Dad, I tested him. It doesn't look like he's recovered. There's no fluctuation of psychic power from him at all, and he didn't react when I humiliated him. Bai Su yawned, staring at the construction crew making such a big fuss early in the morning. She was so sleepy her eyes were watering. People from down the mountain had gathered in a circle to watch the spectacle. None of them could believe that this orphanage, which had been marked as outside the Federation's jurisdiction, was about to be brought into the fold. Rumor had it that it was because a female had gotten injured here. That's exactly why the Federation wants to tighten control over this area. I even heard about a case of child beast-kin abuse not long ago. Why bother with regulations? Just throw those 2 toxic lowlifes, Wang Biao and Bai Su, in jail. Wouldn't this place be peaceful then? The crowd burst into laughter. Bai Su was busy arguing with Lu Tingyan. While you have people here for the construction, I have to be the one responsible for feeding you all? The assistant next to Lu Tingyan nodded. That's right, Miss Bai. Because the orphanage on the mountaintop is so isolated, it's really difficult for the construction crew to find meals around here. Bai Su let out an angry laugh. Do you have any idea how hard it is to cook for this huge crowd? I'm not your personal cook. And I didn't beg you guys to come here to build anything. If you don't like it, don't do the repairs. Get lost, all of you. The assistant was stunned. He had never seen such a rude Omega before. In his mind, Omegas were all delicate flowers raised in greenhouses, speaking in soft, gentle tones. With sweet personalities, not like the Omega in front of him. Coarse, loud, blunt, and full of street-smart attitude. The assistant looked at his boss in a bind, and had no choice but to push forward with the negotiation. If that's the case, how about you only handle the colonel's meals? I'll figure out something else for the workers. Bai Su looked Lu Tingyan up and down, her face filled with wariness and annoyance. If you want to eat here, you have to pay. I have children to raise. I don't have the money to feed your colonel for free every single day. The assistant was breaking into a cold sweat. Even though his boss was a fallen noble beastkin who was being bullied by the military, he didn't think he'd hit rock bottom enough to be criticized and shunned by a commoner. He was hesitating, wondering how to handle this, when Lu Tingyan's deep, detached voice cut in. Fine. Bai Su pushed her luck further. And you are not allowed to come inside the orphanage to eat. Bring a lunchbox, and I'll pack some food for you. You can go find your own place to eat. How can you be so disrespectful toward him? The assistant was getting angry just watching this. Isn't she just treating him like a beggar? Bai Su crossed her arms, acting incredibly arrogant. Take it or leave it. If you don't like it, get out. Lu Tingyan's eyes deepened. I'll take it. The assistant was shocked, staring at his colonel. This little Omega in front of them is just a castaway Omega. Even if she isn't a wanderer anymore, she's still just a commoner. Why would the colonel willingly offer himself up to be humiliated? Bai Su was finally satisfied. She turned back toward the orphanage, shut the gate, and found the little wolf cub. That Colonel Lu is going to be supervising the work lately. From now on, you'll be the one to pack his meals. Bai Shaoling was the name she had given the wolf cub. Before, the original owner, to degrade him, forced everyone to call him, little dog. If she wanted to completely cut ties with the past, she naturally had to change the way he was addressed too. Bai Shaoling nodded, and buried his head back in his food, knowing that eating well would help his wounds heal. He was the wolfkin who ate the most. After Bai Su returned to her room and lay down on the bed, her eyes were clear and alert. Lu Tingyan had taken the bait. She knew it, he would definitely come. Someone who had once stood at the top, how could he be content with becoming a piece of trash forever? But Bai Su could feel the evil radiating from Lu Tingyan toward her. It was strange, because in the original owner's memories, she had never once crossed paths with Lu Tingyan in her life. His hatred for her came from absolutely nowhere. The only reason I can think of is that year of missing memories. What happened to them back then? Bai Su hates being a scapegoat more than anything. She's determined to get to the bottom of what happened all those years ago. Under the blazing sun, the orphanage reconstruction work was a real headache. Lu Tingyan sat under a tree, wearing that incredibly punchable look on his face. With his intense presence, Bai Su walked over and handed him a bottle of water. Here, Lu Tingyan glanced at the water in her hand. He looked away and said, I don't need it. Seeing him so thirsty, he was practically smoking, yet still acting so pretentious. Bai Su couldn't help but twitch her lip and shove the bottle into his hand. Take it, drink it or don't, I don't care. To her surprise, Lu Tingyan reacted violently, knocking the water out of her hand. He even swatted her hand away. Don't touch me. Bai Su was startled. What are you getting so worked up about? Lu Tingyan's face turned pale, and he whipped his head around. He leaned against the tree stump as if he were going to be sick. Bai Su was so shocked she could have stuffed an elephant in her mouth. You have to act like you're going to vomit just because I touched you? Lu Tingyan realized he'd lost his cool. He politely backed away. Please, Miss Bai, do not touch me at will. Thanks. Bai Su felt like she was about to snap. If you hate me that much, then stop eating the food I cook. A flash of disgust crossed Lu Tingyan's eyes as he looked at her with a sneer. Why I hate you? Don't you have even the slightest clue about that in your own heart? Bai Su shot him a look. Believe it or not, I've turned over a new leaf now, and I really hope you don't use the past to judge who I am today. Lu Tingyan looked like he'd just heard the biggest joke in the world. A storm surged in his eyes, but he calmed down just as quickly. In any case, I must ask you again, Miss Bai, do not touch me at will. Bai Su failed to get anything out of him, a flash of disappointment crossing her eyes. Well, I've said my piece. Believe it or not, that's on you. Is it just because I'm fat that I deserve to be treated with such disgust? She turned back to hand out water to the others. Everyone, thanks for the hard work. Have some water and take a break. It's all iced. Bai Su greeted them warmly, handing out the water with a bright smile. Behind her, Lu Tingyan's gaze felt so intense that she had to try hard to hide her own sense of inferiority. Lu Tingyan was still staring at her back, lost in thought. The assistant appeared beside him out of nowhere. Seeing him like this, the assistant couldn't help but chuckle. Miss Bai is really different from other females. I've never seen such an open and straightforward female. She's really refreshing. Lu Tingyan let out an annoyed grunt and shot him a glare. He grabbed his water and headed down the mountain. The assistant looked at his retreating back, confused. Did I say something wrong? The colonel's adjutant, Yodel. patted his shoulder sympathetically. You're new, so you don't know. Our colonel absolutely despises this disgraced eldest daughter of the Bai family. You, my friend, just tried to kiss up to someone he hates. The assistant was stunned. Then why does our colonel insist on eating the food she makes? And he's always staring in Miss Bai's direction. I really thought the colonel had a thing for the little female. Yodel shrugged. Don't even try to guess what the colonel is thinking. The assistant had a sudden look of realization. And here I thought this unique guy was any different from the rest. Turns out, he's just the same as everyone else. Just another stuck-up snob looking down on our colonel. Yodel rolled his eyes at him, speechless. Hindsight is 20/20. At noon, Bai Su prepared some meat dishes as usual. With a few sides of vegetables, Lu Tingyan actually paid her for the food. 3,000 bucks a day. More than enough for the kids to eat meat until they burst. With plenty of ingredients, she was in the zone, braising some goldfish for lunch. She made potato and beef brisket stew with quail eggs, using a special Sichuan-style hot pot base. A rich, mouth-watering aroma filled the air as it simmered on the stove, and the neighbors from downhill, who were just hanging around, couldn't help but come over to check it out. Bai Su, I've never smelled meat this good in my life. Damn it all, is this actually meat? You didn't stew all the little brats in your yard, did you? Bai Su laughed and waved them off. Go on, get out of here. Eating kids is against the law, you know. This pot isn't even enough for my own little rascals. So there's none for you. The smell didn't just lure in the neighbors and workers. It drew the kids down, too. Bai Shaoling was always the most eager when it came to chow time. He was always the first one to rush down, wash his hands, and grab the seat closest to the stove. Bai Su shot him a playful look. Go serve yourself as much as you want to eat. Once you're stuffed, help me deliver lunch to Colonel Lu outside. Bai Shaoling gave a cheerful nod. He stared longingly at the mouth-watering chicken in Bai Su's hands. Bai Shaoling, take this lunchbox to Colonel Lu, who's supervising the work halfway up the hill. Go. He was sitting under a tree resting, watching the workers from a distance. When he opened the lunchbox, a fragrant aroma hit him. He hadn't expected Bai Su to give him such a huge portion. It was called a lunchbox, but it was actually a large bucket. Inside, there was braised pork, mouth-watering chicken, and beef brisket stew. A good 5 or 6 pounds of food. There wasn't much rice, though. Beside him, Bai Shaoling couldn't help but gulp. His eyes were glued to the meal. Lu Tingyan noticed his stare, but he didn't say anything. If it were in the past, he might have given the little guy a bite, but things were different now. He desperately needed this food to heal the wounds on his body. After the meal, he could feel his mental sea showing faint signs of budding life. The barren, cracked soil of his mind even started to show signs of being nourished. After finishing, Bai Shaoling took the empty container. I'll be back tomorrow to bring you more food. A short way off, the little wolf cub suddenly turned back, glaring at him with a dark look. Lu Tingyan raised an eyebrow. Is there something else? Bai Shaoling's face was stern. I don't care what your motives are for eating my director mother's cooking, but I hope you keep your mouth shut. And don't try anything with her. This was the first time Lu Tingyan had ever been threatened by a brat. He looked at the little cub and gave a slight nod. Don't worry, no one is trying to snatch your director. At evening, after dinner, Bai Su changed into a lightweight tracksuit. It had become her recent habit. 2 hours after every dinner, she'd go out for a night run. Losing weight couldn't just depend on her food alone. She's got way too much extra weight and toxins in her system. She needs to slim down, and fast. It's best to pair that with a good workout routine, so Bai Su jogged all the way down from the mountaintop. She hadn't realized the workers were still on the job, so she ran down to the small shop. She bought some water for everyone and hauled it back up, calling out as she set it by the roadside. I bought you all some water, don't forget to stay hydrated. Thanks for all your hard work. The workers were caught off guard and thanked her profusely. Thank you, Miss Bai. Thank you so much. We can't believe you went to the trouble of carrying this up yourself. Bai Su just laughed brightly. She had just finished her run, and she was dripping with sweat. A refreshing, sweet scent, unique to a Dutch rabbit, wafted off her in waves. As the summer night breeze carried it to the workers, Bai Su had no clue how alluring she was. She had just transmigrated into this book world and wasn't used to this female body yet. She completely forgot that the scent of a female is lethally attractive to males. Even though she was quite chubby, she had been pampered lately, making her skin look soft and supple. To the males, this was an unbearable temptation. The workers felt their thirst turning into something else entirely. They hurriedly looked down to grab the water, but Bai Su had severely underestimated how attractive her plump figure was. She didn't notice anything wrong and even crouched down to hand out the bottles. With eyes shining and full of sincere, happy warmth, she said, I figured you guys would be thirsty. It's so hot out today, and you're still working this late. Must be exhausting, right? The workers stammered in response. When they accidentally caught her gaze, they felt even more parched and worked up. They didn't even know what to do with their hands. One male, whose self-control was snapping, couldn't take it anymore. His animal ears popped out and his body temperature spiked. as if he were completely spellbound by Bai Su. In a daze, he leaned toward her and lunged to grab her hand. Suddenly, a hand shot out from the side, grabbed the worker, and shoved him aside. The air in the surroundings instantly dropped to freezing. The workers snapped back to reality and lowered their heads in terror. Colonel, they just lost their heads for a moment. To think they almost had inappropriate thoughts about a female. If they had scared her, they would definitely be held accountable. The Federation had a very strict law protecting females. If they dared to offend a female right in front of the colonel, it would be a crime on top of a crime. Lu Tingyan swept a cold, piercing glance over the workers. Even though he said nothing at all, the crushing pressure of a natural-born superior left everyone too scared to even breathe. Bai Su, still clueless, quickly spoke up. They weren't slacking off. I'm the one who bought them water. Just before she could finish her sentence, Lu Tingyan pulled her toward the mountain path without a word. The workers looked at each other, and once the fog in their heads cleared, they couldn't help but feel a lingering sense of longing. I feel like Miss Bai isn't as awful as the villagers down the mountain say. At this, the others couldn't help but nod, all chiming in at once. Exactly, she seems so friendly today. You can tell just by looking in her eyes that Miss Bai is a kind person. How could such a good person possibly abuse a child? Wasn't it rumored she was exiled here for that? I have a feeling there's more to this. Nobility is full of backstabbing and drama. Maybe she was framed and exiled here. After walking a good distance, Lu Tingyan finally let go. Bai Su, are you really that desperate? Bai Su looked completely confused and adorable. Are you okay? What's wrong with this guy? I was just bringing some water to the workers. Is it really necessary to think of me as someone so despicable? She said defiantly, what's wrong with me? They've been working their fingers to the bone repairing the mountain road for the orphanage. What's the big deal about me buying them some water and taking it over there? Just because you, Colonel Lu, are cold-hearted, do you have to expect everyone else to be the same? Lu Tingyan stared at her with a chilling gaze. He felt that a woman like Bai Su, who would stop at nothing to get what she wanted, could easily do something treacherous. Yet, those eyes of hers were just too open and honest. It made him start to doubt his own judgment. But females have been raised with that kind of upbringing since they were little. There is no way she wouldn't know that the scent emitted by a female has such an impact on males. Especially in the summer, the unique fragrance on a female is simply impossible to mask.